Hello there. GM Lurch Lurchington here with another episode of Star Wars Showdown on Iceball Station. Alright, so we return the camera's eye to Fishtown on the leeward side of the island. Zeef is crunching through the snow in an alley behind the buildings that front the main road there, just past Gaz's Gear, a little ways away from the power station. He looks up, hearing a rumble, and in a flash of gold, sees the Z95 headhunter that Worram had been working on flash over the city, out along the highway towards the gas station. As it shrinks in the distance, it pulls a very tight, flipping turn, and then comes back along the highway before arcing up and then coming in to land at the expat club up the hill. You drop the body of the remnant stormtrooper from 2 nights ago out in front of your agency behind a building and scratch the message from the Carcaro gang into the front of his gear there before slinking away, to make your way back onto the streets via a different alley. Worram, you've come in for a landing there at the landing platform of the expat club. By the time you've returned from your jaunt down the highway and landed, you see that Griff Halloran has come out from the hangar building and watches you taxi in on your skid into one of the hangars. Other than the front left hangar, which is still stacked with the rings for the race, the other 3 are all set up for the ships that'll be flying in the race. Halloran's in the front right, and the other 2 back hangars have been prepared and readied by the Turtle Man mechanics from the expat club for the race. So you're able to land back there. There's some tool boxes and workbenches back here. So anything you need to do to tune up the fighter before the race begins will be back here for you to use. You do see that there are a couple of stormtroopers in armor that are standing guard out at the outer front doors. You get to all 4 hangars are in a building 2 across from each other, and you came in through the main doors on the ground and then turned in to one of the 2 back hangars. But out at the front doors where the landing pad is, there are a couple of stormtrooper guards, and they're attempting to... Well, actually, they're not attempting to talk to Halloran, which they probably would have been doing yesterday.
Okay. So I pull into the slip in the hangar bay, and I think I would set down the craft. So who all is in the hangar? Did I see, obviously there was somebody, waving me in, a mechanic or something.
Yeah, there was a turtle with some wands who waved you in last episode.
Okay, is there anybody else in the hangar that I can see?
There is a Rhodian in an Imperial technician's jumpsuit who is still working on Halloran's fighter, and his droid is there. There are a couple of the turtle service staff, janitor mechanics from up at the expat club who are still working on the race rings to make sure that they're all fully up and running.
Okay.
They got the 2 that weren't working at all working, and now they're working on the other ones, getting them refurbished. And there are a couple of stormtroopers standing guard outside, but there's no staff in here.
Okay.
And Captain Food has to take his way down. But
he's making
when
his
you
way
come
down.
out, Rathamith will be making his way out from the expat club. So if you head out of the hangar to the landing slip...
I'm not going to leave just yet.
Okay, then
so
you won't
we'll
see
hold off
him.
on that. But
Okay,
so yeah, so I'm
but there's
going
nobody
to.
in here.
Okay, so I'm gonna just like hop out, of the fighter, and then kind of just give it like a once over, and I'm gonna just see if like anybody comes over to like ask about it, or if any Griff or anybody comes over to check it out, or take an interest in the new bird in the hangar here.
Halloran is walking back towards your hangar.
Okay, so I'm just gonna keep just play it cool and just kind of keep doing the pilot thing, looking for anything that kind of shook.
You want to make a check on the ship?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead and make a mechanics check.
Okay. What's the difficulty?
Craft is unfamiliar, and it's been sitting for a couple of years.
I mean, I've spent 2 days doing it.
You did just spend 2 days working on it, so you're going to get some boosts from that, but I would say it's a hard mechanics check with maybe 2 boosts, 1 from each day you were working on it, And you're not really breaking it down. You're just sort of looking to see if anything, is on the surface. You don't have the time to break out the tools and like open it up.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, triumphantly, the results are fantastic. And you're able to, successfully, you give her a once over, and I mean, it looks like the work you guys did over the past 2 days, like tuning it up and getting, everything ready after it sat. It was brand new, so it wasn't really in a state where it was breaking down while it sat,
For the Triumph, maybe Halloran, when he comes over, is just like, visit, like...
Yeah, we can put it to that instead.
With it, is like, oh
absolutely.
Man, it's a beautiful ship kind of thing.
Sure, we can do
so
that.
You start off like on a good, he's already like predisposed.
Absolutely. So as you come around from examining the engines, which have warmed up nicely, and it appears that after 2 days of working with the solvent and the tools and getting 5 years worth of sit off and everything tuned up right.
Mm-hmm.
These coils, now that they've warmed up, the engines look just perfect, and you felt it while you were flying. When you come up from behind the ship, you see an elderly, like not old, but gray-haired, grizzled human gentleman in pilot's flight suit, Imperial Navy with the sleeves cut off, walking over. He's finished cleaning his hands on the rag and tosses it into a bin of similarly dirty rags near one of the workbenches, and folds his arms across his chest. He rocks back on his heels a couple of times and whistles at the ship as he stands there, just at the edge of the hangar. He hasn't come in and approached directly. He nods at it, says, "That is a thing of beauty." Says, "This might be a good race after all."
I kind of look back at him from where I'm still kind of going over the fuselage of the Z95 and say, yeah, we'd think we'll make a race of it. I kind of take another glance at his TIE fighter uniform and say, no real love for the Empire, but I respect what the Remnant did back on Ithor, and then turn back to my work.
He says, "Yeah, I didn't agree with them for too long myself. That's why I got out. It's good to see that the COG has done some good work." He goes, These older designs are certainly better than anything I flew in the Navy, though. So I think this will be a good race. He notices that you're not being particularly conversational about it, however, and he himself isn't a social enough guy that he's going to try to breach that. So he's just going to take his leave and head back over to his ship. You haven't been down here to check out his ship, however, so this is Worram's first chance to actually scope out
so I will
what
do
the
that,
competition will be.
But first, I would like to...
Wait, you've got your own bird to care for.
Well, no, not that. Well, I figure I just did the once over and everything looks pretty good.
Right.
You know.
You can call food or...
I was actually going to see if there's like a security system or something like in the hangar bay to ensure that there's like no Sebulba-ish tampering with
sabotage.
The fighter while sitting here, without
so
me
there are some
watching it.
Of course, there are some doors to some maintenance corridors, and there is a control panel at the front here that you think could probably project a field over this place. If you want to make a computers check to make sure that all of the locks on all of the entries in and out of the place, then the difficulty of the check that you decide to make now is going to be what the difficulty for exactly. You're going to program the locks, so you get to tell me the difficulty.
Right.
And that'll be
hard.
I mean, you really want to go at least 3, right? Otherwise, it's not even worth setting the lock. Okay.
Yeah. Can I call over one of the technicians in here to give me a hand with setting it up?
You had some advantage from your last
Oh, yeah,
roll.
sure. Yeah, that's true. All right, yeah, sure. I'll take one.
So, Turtle has finally made his way up and will help.
I'm going to re-roll with my second chances that blank.
Nice.
Go for it.
There we go. All right. So,
so yes. 2 advantage is not enough to add an additional difficulty die.
No, that's fine.
So
maybe
you can just get them set up
an extra
normally.
Setback.
Sure, absolutely.
Or actually, how about, can I get it to send maybe like a notification to my comm or something? If somebody, like,
you can pair your comm to it, definitely.
Yeah, all right, that works. I'll take that over the extra black. So yeah, so then having set up the the perimeter and put up the field generator in front of the this hangar bay, I think I'm going to kind of stroll my way out. You said Griff was
Halloran's
forward hangars, right?
Exactly. Yes. It was the first pilot here, so he took one of the front hangars there.
All right.
Across from where the rings were.
As I do so, I'm gonna take a look at his ship, and just maybe a perception check just to see what I can find out stat-wise about it, just from an eyeball of it.
Sure. Worram walks down towards the front of the hangar. In the front, there off to the left as you're exiting, you see Halloran's ship. It is, in the crude parlance, and ugly, a ship he's built for himself out of the parts of other fighters. You can see the ball-shaped cockpit common to Imperial TIE craft, but behind it, there's a triangular array of engine outputs more common to an X-Wing or a Z-95 versus the ion engines of a TIE. The ship itself has a pointed triangular shape where it appears that Halloran is, without really guessing, it looks like he's trying to put something along the lines of Jedi Interceptor together out of TIE fighter parts. It's got a pointed arrowhead shape. But the split there maybe has a bit of a Mandalorian influence. There are a pair of powered down blasters, the edges of the wing blades. And the vessel has a white and gray paint scheme. As you stop to look it over, Halloran nods to you and goes back to getting his tools put away. just right over at a workbench. And his mechanic, a Rhodian with bright green skin, notices you and then ducks down to work at the back of the ship, out of sight.
Rhodian, hey. It's not typically Imperial. Would I have seen him at all around the club or anything like that?
You haven't been back into the main bar, so you wouldn't have, no.
Okay.
You haven't seen him in the outer bar at all, and you've been here a couple of times since the Revenant showed up, so you haven't seen this guy around.
The Rhodian, right?
Correct, that's what I mean.
I just want to double check that we were both talking about.
He wasn't out. Yeah, he wasn't out at the outer bar at the club any times.
So I'm going to call over to Griff and say, "You mind if I take a look?"
He nods, expecting you to remember that he did not cross the threshold of your hangar and approach
I thought
and close.
Okay.
No, he stopped at the threshold and complimented your ship, and then you were like, "Oh, the Empire, blah blah blah." You know what I mean? But he didn't come in and check it out because you didn't seem to want to continue the conversation. So he just sort of walked away, He
I
was
thought
he right
up to it. And
no, he didn't come up and really check it out, He was like, "It's a Z95, but you didn't invite him in, and you guys are about to race against each other, in a couple of days, kind of thing." He'll definitely want to really check your ship out right after the
I
race.
didn't mean to keep him
No, it's fine.
standoffish. I thought it was more like
he's not a social enough guy to push forward through any kind of resistance at all. That's part of who he is.
Okay.
Oh, it's fine.
So,
neither you guys are the guy who's going to take that first sort of step.
Yeah.
Generally.
Well, yeah. I mean, Worram would have been, but yeah, he.
But the ship is there, so you can. Hey, second chances, man.
Yeah.
You just got to make a very easy. You've got quite a charm pool if you want to decide to actually be hey.
Sure. I'll try and get in a little closer.
Didn't mean to get off on the wrong foot over there because he did tell you that he kind of left the Empire. You know what I mean? So you could certainly come and actually have a conversation.
All right, sure. Yeah, I'll try and do a.
You
charm.
just met a racist old man that you've made friends with within the past day and a half.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll try and.
Sounds like Florida.
Yeah. I'll try and turn on the charm and see if I can get a little closer look at the
Warren
fighter.
Freeman here. He's magical Ithorian all these racist white men into realizing that aliens are people too.
I really want to talk to the Rhodian, actually. That's.
I know, you just got to get past Halloran.
I got to get past Halloran.
He'll make the introduction.
Babushka.
Well, he seemed really frightened. That's all. Like he ducked. You said he ducked behind something, right, when he saw me. So
yeah, you've got the
Rhodian amongst all the Humano-centric Empire. So
you've got enough peripheral vision to notice that he keeps peeking when you go over to talk to Halloran. So yeah,
all right.
Just talk to Griff first.
Yeah. So what's going to be the difficulty on that charm check? Let's see if I even get my foot in the door.
I mean, I don't have stats in front of me, but it'd be the kind of thing to be a red and 2 purples, probably, and maybe a setback. Just because he's not very social to begin with, and sort of, you guys didn't have a great first encounter. But also, you had that triumph earlier. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you're flying a Z95, and he's trying to build a classic old design out of new parts. You guys
love of classic starships. There you go. Yeah.
Right. This is another one of those situations where you guys actually have to talk about as long as the conversation starts. So yeah. But he's not the guy who wants to have a conversation with anybody. So
it was going to be a boost from the Triumph for before?
Yes, a boost from the Triumph from before. Bring up wanting to talk to the Rhodian. But it all goes pretty well. So let's just have this conversation in character.
Yeah, so,
you know what I mean?
So Worram kind of stands at the entrance to the hangar, and he's just kind of gives a low hooting whistle of admiration and says, "You weren't kidding, Griff, right? That's a fine-looking starship. Reminds me of the old Ada Interceptors."
A grin slowly breaks out across his rough countenance, but he hides it away before he looks up from his tool and turns around. He says, "I appreciate your noticing. I flew a long time for the Empire, and really none of the birds they ever put me in were worth a damn. Fortunately, I was. Back during the Republic, they knew how to a ship that was as good as the man who flew it could be." And then he nods towards you and he says, "Or whichever type of pilot it might happen to be."
Worram nods his head at that and kind of like indicates, like, "Do you mind if I get closer?"
As long as you don't look under any panels that are closed up. We do have a race to run.
Understood.
If we ever have a race to run. Do you know anything about that?
My friend has been working hard on organizing that, and that's why I'm in that hangar right down the way, same as you. It's a race. So
excellent. Come on in. Take a look.
Yeah. So I'm just going to. I'm definitely not going to be opening any panels. We'll just kind of.
Sure. He stands back and explains that he's
a large hand over it, kind of thing. Just
yeah.
Follow
the lines and look at it. Absolutely.
I would like to get in a place, hopefully, where I have the craft between Halloran and myself, with the Rodian on the same side as me.
Sure.
Possible.
He moves to stay away from you. Actually, as you come around the craft, he keeps the bulk of the craft between you and him, and as he turns to move away from you, standing very straight up and down and looking down at the deck the whole time, you notice that at the back of his head, he has a cybernetic brain implant across both temples and the back of his head, and he moves to stay away from you.
This is the Rodian.
Okay. Yeah, and he moves over towards Halloran eventually, and will stand behind him if you continue around the ship towards him.
Okay, so he's not letting me get him alone. All right.
Correct. When he does this, Griff turns and sort of speaks to him, and then waits for you to finish checking out the ship.
I think I would return to the same side as Griff, and then just kind of express my admiration again, and then just kind of offhandedly kind of ask, and your mechanic, what's his name?
Griff says, "This is Bots," and then he steps back so that he's not in between the two of you, and he says, "Say hello, Bots." The Rodian glances up for a second and then looks back down and says hello in a buzzy voice, but nothing more than that. And Griff says, "He complimented the ship. He thinks that the work we did is very good, Bots." And he thanks you and says, "I'm really proud of her. We've been working on her for a few years now."
Shows. Like I said, it's a fine craft. You both deserve every credit.
Yeah.
And,
he leans back and folds his arms and goes, "Yeah, we're going to give you a run for your money."
I look forward to it. And I think with that, I'm not going to push further.
Yeah, that's fine.
Maybe
You'll have
in less guarded circumstances in the future. But,
plenty of time to converse.
I think I will exit the hangar and yeah.
Rathamith has come down the steps and is coming over into the hangar as you come out, and he looks positively gleeful. He says, "Oh, Thude is going to be so excited to see you win this race for us.
I look
Mr.
forward to
Silver
it.
Star is such a blessing."
They only knew.
He nods and he goes, "And you too, of course. Aaron will be so happy to see."
He seemed very pleased when we were working on the ship. It's a beautiful craft. I understand that your club was the one that donated it to him.
Yes, it was a retirement gift Kolvar insisted on presenting it to him, but I found the fun for it. We are quite a successful establishment until recent time. He looks at the stormtroopers who are like guarding the entrance to the hangar and decides he doesn't want to continue sort of talking about the recent downturn. You know, exactly. He goes, we didn't understand the extent of Aaron's injuries, of course, when we got him the ship, and I have felt so guilty that the gift was such a painful thing for him, but I really think that if you can turn it around and do some good for the club with it, that he'll really feel the credit from that in some way. He puts a hand up on your shoulder and says, so thank you.
I'll do my best for both the club and for him.
Says, excellent. He looks past you back into the hangar and goes, he didn't come back with you, did he?
Unfortunately, it's only a single-seater, and I'm a little larger of frame than other humanoids.
He smacks his head and goes, of course. And then he begins texting on his comm, narrating as he does. He goes, I saw your ship fly overhead. It looked fantastic. You did such a great job getting it ready to fly. Thumbs up. Starfighter emoji. Send.
But I think I would ask Rathmus if he has seen. He knows that we're associated with both Zeef and with Zavix, right?
He was at the party.
Yeah, he was at the party. Okay. So I'm just gonna say, have you seen either of my companions, either Master Silverstar or Zeef, this afternoon?
He tells you he uses his comm link to ask the expat club if either of them are there, and then tells you that Silverstar headed out with some of those ruffians from the cartel, and that your friend, Mr. Zeef, isn't in the casino at the moment, but otherwise he's unsure.
All right. So I think I would
thank... The concierge couldn't find him, but you can call him Zeef. Yeah, so Zeef, you're done.
Okay. So I think I would know where he is.
Right, excellent. He's going to head in to wait for Captain Thude to come back. He's going to be back there with the fighter after, he thanks you in return. That's the end of the session tonight, guys. Catch y'all next week.